Here's the hard truth. People-pleasing is a form of self-betrayal. Every time you bend over backward to keep someone else happy, every time you put their needs over your own, every time you silence what you really want to say or really want to do, or choosing their comfort over your authenticity. And let me tell you, that habit of always saying yes to others but no to yourself is a surefire way to burn yourself out. Because what you're doing is selling off little pieces of who you are, bit by bit, all for the approval of others. Let's be real, people-pleasing isn't just an annoying habit, it's a form of self-betrayal. Every time you twist yourself to make someone else comfortable, every time you swallow what you really want to say, every time you bend over backward to meet someone else's expectations, you're putting their needs and wants above your own. And here's the cost each act of people-pleasing chips away at your own self-respect, your own authenticity, and ultimately your own happiness. Think about it. When you constantly prioritize other people's comfort, opinions, and preferences, you're telling yourself, my needs don't matter as much. My voice doesn't count as much. My boundaries aren't as important. But here's the hard truth. If you keep pushing your true self aside, how are you ever going to feel fulfilled? The answer is you won't. Because deep down, every time you say yes when you want to say no, every time you give when you want to take a break, you are betraying the person who matters most in this worldview. And the consequences of this self-betrayal, they're serious. You start to lose sight of who you are and what you want. You end up feeling burned out, resentful, and even disconnected from your own dreams and goals. Because you've spent so much time and energy focused on what everyone else wants, you forget what you need to thrive. And that's where the spiral begins, a cycle of exhaustion, self-doubt, and feeling like you're never enough, because no matter how hard you try, someone's always going to want something more. So if you want to stop betraying yourself, it's time to make a change. Start putting your own needs, desires, and boundaries at the forefront. This isn't about becoming selfish, it's about respecting yourself enough to stand up for who you are and what you need. It's about showing up for yourself and choosing authenticity over approval every single day. Let's dig a little deeper. Most of us think that people-pleasing is just about being nice or helpful. But there's usually a whole lot more going on beneath the surface. People-pleasing often stems from an intense need for validation, for acceptance, for belonging. It's a way of managing our fears, fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of not being enough. And the worst part? Most of us don't even realize that's what's driving us. When you're constantly saying yes to things you don't want to do, it's not just kindness at work. It's your brain trying to protect you from feeling vulnerable, uncomfortable, or exposed. People pleasers often fear that saying no or speaking their truth will make others disappointed, angry, or even judgmental. And for many, that disapproval feels like a direct attack on their sense of self-worth. So they stay in their safe zone of constant agreement and compromise, thinking if I just keep everyone else happy, I'll feel accepted and loved. But here's the thing, this kind of acceptance is conditional and shallow because it's based on a version of you that isn't real. The truth is, people-pleasing isn't about other people, it's about our own insecurities. It's about avoiding the uncomfortable feelings that come with standing up for what we truly want or need. It's about fearing that if we're truly ourselves, if we're honest, authentic, maybe even a little disagreeable at times, people might leave, criticize, or judge us. But living this way isn't truly safe. It just keeps you stuck in a loop of constant approval seeking, holding you back from the true freedom that comes when you're brave enough to stand in your own truth. Recognizing this motivation is critical because it helps you see that people-pleasing is a habit, one rooted in a fear of being rejected or unloved. But the only way to build genuine confidence, to feel accepted as you really are, is to practice saying what you mean and doing what feels true to you. Real self-worth isn't found in avoiding conflict or keeping everyone else happy. It's found in standing firm, speaking your truth, and letting people see the real you, even if that means some people won't approve. So here's the reality check. People-pleasing is not kindness, it's self-protection disguised as kindness. True confidence comes when you let go of that mask, stop worrying about others' reactions, and start showing up as your whole authentic self. This is a big one. Somewhere along the way, many of us have come to believe that our worth is measured by how well we fit into others' expectations, how well we can please, and how many people approve of us. But let me tell you something that can truly set you free. Your value has nothing to do with other people's approval. Your worth is something you carry within you, something that doesn't change based on who likes you, who doesn't, or what anyone else thinks. It's intrinsic. When you rely on others' approval to feel good about yourself, you're giving them control over your sense of self. And here's the catch: the moment you let someone else decide your worth, you become a prisoner to their opinions, moods, and preferences. You become a chameleon, shifting and adjusting to meet other people's needs, all in a desperate bid for validation. But here's the thing: you can't ever truly please everyone. You'll exhaust yourself in the process, and in the end, you'll be left feeling empty, disconnected from who you really are, because you've been trying to live up to everyone else's standards instead of your own. True self-worth is built from within. It's about knowing who you are, owning your strengths and your flaws, and feeling grounded in your own skin. It means realizing that you are enough, just as you are, with no need to hustle for anyone's approval. This isn't arrogance, it's self-respect. It's confidence that doesn't waver with someone else's judgment or approval because it's rooted in your own self-acceptance. When you know your worth, you show up differently. You speak your truth, set boundaries, and make decisions based on what feels right for you, not based on what might keep others happy. Now, is it easy? No, especially if you've been conditioned to believe that your value is something that can be earned or given to you by others. But the truth is, it's already there. It's a choice you make every day, choosing to value yourself, to validate yourself, and to stand by yourself, regardless of what anyone else thinks. And when you start doing this, something amazing happens. You'll begin to attract people who genuinely respect you for who you are, not for what you can do for them or how well you can fit into their mold. You'll realize that the right people don't need you to change or compromise yourself. They want you as you are. So remember, you don't need anyone else's permission to feel valuable. You are enough right here and right now. Your worth isn't something that changes based on someone's opinion. It's yours to own. And the sooner you embrace that, the sooner you'll feel free to live a life that's true to you, not to anyone else's expectations. Let's talk about boundaries. People often think of boundaries as walls, as barriers between them and others. But boundaries aren't about shutting people out, they're about letting people in on your terms. Boundaries are essential to self-respect. And here's why: every boundary you set is a way of saying, this is what I need to protect my peace, my energy, and my well-being. Without boundaries, you end up running on empty, constantly giving to others while leaving yourself depleted, resentful, and disconnected from what matters most to you. The truth is, boundaries are a form of self-care, a way of honoring yourself and preserving your inner resources. When you establish clear boundaries, you're telling yourself and the world that your needs and limits are important and deserve respect. You're saying, I value myself enough to protect my time, my energy, and my priorities. But here's the kicker: boundaries aren't just a one-time thing. They're a practice, something you reinforce daily by speaking up, saying no when necessary, and prioritizing your own needs. For many people, though, boundaries feel uncomfortable because they're so used to putting others first. You worry, what if they get upset? What if they don't like me? And yes, setting boundaries might disappoint some people. They might even test those boundaries to see if you'll cave. But here's the secret: when you honor your boundaries, you're teaching people how to treat you. You're showing them that you have standards for how you want to be treated, and that you won't compromise your self-respect just to keep the peace or make someone else happy. And this is a powerful shift. Without boundaries, you end up saying yes to things that drain you, agreeing to commitments that don't align with your values, and letting others' needs overtake your own. But with boundaries, you free yourself from that cycle. You start to take back control over your life, over how you spend your time, and over who gets access to your energy. Boundaries are about more than just saying no. They're about building a life that aligns with your true self, a life where you prioritize your own well-being and create space for what genuinely matters to you. And here's the most important part: boundaries aren't about selfishness, they're about self-respect. When you set boundaries, you're actually giving others the opportunity to know you better, to see the real you with all your preferences, limits, and values. And you're also giving yourself permission to show up fully without resentment or guilt, because you know that you're not just existing to meet others' needs, you're here to live a life that's fulfilling, balanced, and true to who you are. So start setting boundaries, not just with others, but with yourself. Decide what you need to feel respected, what you're willing to compromise on, and what you're not. Remember, every boundary you honor strengthens your self-respect. And each time you protect your own peace, you're living in alignment with the life you truly deserve. Let's face it, saying no can feel like climbing a mountain, especially if you're used to always saying yes. But here's the thing, learning to say no is one of the most liberating skills you can develop, and it doesn't have to be overwhelming. You don't need to start by rejecting a huge request. You can begin small. When I say start small, I mean look for those little opportunities in your daily life where you can assert your boundaries without feeling like you're going to implode. It could be declining an invitation to a social gathering that you're not excited about, or telling a colleague that you can't take on another project right now. Each time you say no. In a low-stakes situation, you're building confidence and resilience for those bigger moments when it really matters. Think of it this way: each small no is a stepping stone toward your larger goal of living authentically and standing up for yourself. And with every step you take, you're rewiring your brain to understand that it's okay to prioritize your own needs. You're teaching yourself that you don't have to feel guilty for taking care of yourself. And here's a little secret: when you practice saying no, you'll likely be surprised at how people respond. Many times, people will respect your boundaries more than you think. They may even admire you for standing up for yourself. The truth is, most people appreciate honesty and directness. When you say no, you're not just taking care of yourself, you're also being clear with others about what you can and cannot handle. This honesty can actually strengthen your relationships instead of weakening them. And here's a practical tip: you don't have to provide lengthy explanations or justifications when you say no. Keep it simple and straightforward. You can say, "I appreciate you thinking of me, but I can't commit to this right now," or "Thanks for the invite, but I have other plans." You're allowed to be concise. Your time and energy are precious, and you don't owe anyone a detailed account of your choices. And remember, this process takes time and practice. You might stumble at first, and that's perfectly fine. Celebrate each small victory, and over time, you'll find that saying no becomes easier and more intuitive. You're not just rejecting requests, you're asserting your value and your right to prioritize yourself. So, this week, I challenge you to look for at least one opportunity to say no. It can be small and it can feel uncomfortable, but take that step. Recognize that you are reclaiming your time, your energy, and your authenticity. Every time you choose to say no, you're saying yes to yourself. And that's where true empowerment begins. This is perhaps the most powerful choice you can make to prioritize your own peace above the need for external validation. We live in a world that often pressures us to conform, to seek approval, and to please others. Social media, workplace dynamics, family expectations, they all feed into this constant desire to fit in, to be liked, to be accepted. But here's the reality: when you chase after others' approval, you're essentially giving away your power. You're placing your happiness in the hands of others, and that is a precarious place to be. Choosing your own peace means embracing who you are and what you stand for, regardless of how others might perceive it. It means being willing to take a stand for your values, your feelings, and your needs, even when that might lead to disappointment or disagreement. You have to remember that not everyone will understand your choices, and that's okay. What's important is that you understand them. Your journey is not about pleasing everyone around you. It's about creating a life that aligns with your true self. This choice to prioritize your peace can be liberating, but it can also be challenging. It requires you to sit with discomfort and accept that not everyone will be happy with your decisions. But here's the beautiful truth: when you begin to put your peace first, you will start to attract people who resonate with your authentic self. You'll find that the relationships that matter are those built on respect for each other's individuality, not on a foundation of approval seeking and compliance. Think about it: when you are constantly seeking approval, you may say yes to invitations you don't want to attend, engage in conversations that drain your energy, or keep quiet about your true feelings just to avoid conflict. This creates internal tension and anxiety because you're not living authentically. But when you choose peace, you start saying no to things that don't serve you, creating a space where your energy can flourish. You start to feel lighter, freer, and more in control of your life. Let's break it down into actionable steps. First, take time to reflect on what peace means for you. Is it having more time for yourself? Is it pursuing a hobby you've neglected? Is it simply creating boundaries that protect your mental health? Once you define what brings you peace, start incorporating those elements into your life, even in small ways. Next, practice letting go of the fear of disapproval. Remind yourself that the only approval you truly need is your own. This may take some mental reprogramming. Challenge the thoughts that tell you you need to please others to be worthy. And acknowledge those thoughts, but don't let them control your actions. Instead, ask yourself, what would I do if I weren't worried about what others would think? When you begin to choose your own peace, you'll notice a shift. You'll feel a sense of empowerment as you embrace your authenticity, and you'll discover the joy of living for yourself rather than for the approval of others. This choice will open doors to new opportunities and connections that align with your true self, rather than those that require you to wear a mask or play a role. So here's the challenge. Start today. Choose one action that prioritizes your peace over seeking approval. It could be anything from turning down an invitation you're not excited about to sharing your honest opinion in a conversation, even if it feels uncomfortable. With each step you take, you'll reinforce the belief that your peace is worth protecting. Remember, choosing your own peace isn't just a decision, it's a commitment to living authentically. The more you make this choice, the more empowered you'll feel, and the more you'll realize that true happiness comes from being true to yourself, not from trying to please others. So take that leap, choose your peace, and watch how it transforms your life. In the end, people-pleasing is a cycle that keeps you stuck in the pursuit of approval, stuck in self-doubt, and ultimately stuck in a life that doesn't feel fully yours. But here's the truth: you have the power to break free. You have the power to live a life that's true to who you are, not a life shaped by others' expectations. It starts with the decision to stop betraying yourself, to understand what's driving you to please others, and to embrace the truth that your worth doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. Set boundaries, take back your energy, and practice saying no to anything that doesn't align with your peace and purpose. Choosing your peace over the approval of others isn't just a skill, it's an act of self-respect. Each time you choose to honor yourself, to protect your own well-being, and to live authentically, you're building a life where you don't just exist to satisfy others. You're creating a life where you're truly alive, where you're free, and where you're thriving on your own terms. So make the choice today. Choose yourself. Choose your peace. And watch how the right people, the right opportunities, and the right kind of happiness find their way to you. Because when you're finally true to yourself, that's when you'll realize you're enough just as you are.